Hello, I'm Lee Bernick, Dean of the Greenspan College of Urban Affairs, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Urban Report. Today's show will focus on something that's bold and innovative at UNLV, and we have a guest, Tom Piechota, and we're going to be talking about our energy initiatives and our climate change initiatives and a series of things that you're involved with and you're taking the lead role. Tom, you graduated from UCLA and you graduated in civil engineering, and I believe it was with water management, and now you're Mr. Green almost. Is that right? I mean, you're the kind of the green giant here of UNLV. You're responsible for one of the really big projects here on campus, and you're the principal investigator for our EPSCoR grant. That's a grant of $15 million, is that right, that the National Science Foundation has funded.
Right.
And I know you have some visuals and to talk about that.
Yeah.
And let's try to bring up the visuals and let you give us a little sketch of what we're doing here on climate change. That's the EPSCoR grant. And so if we can bring up the first slide on it, let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thanks for having me, Lee, and I appreciate it. Climate change is certainly something that we hear a lot about in the news. It's a big driver in terms of the direction of the country, both in terms of environmental awareness, but also driving the economy too. This grant is part of a National Science Foundation grant that's a 5-year grant, and it's part of EPSCoR, which is meant to enable states like Nevada to build up their infrastructure so they're competitive in different research areas. And when we talk about infrastructure, infrastructure is equipment and things out in the field, but it's also about bringing people to the state and that expertise so we can compete at the national level for grants in climate change. This project, it's a statewide project on climate change impacts in Nevada. So we're working with University of Nevada, Reno, Desert Research Institute, Nevada State College, the community colleges, to look at how climate change is potentially going to impact the state of Nevada, but also how that has national and global significance too. And it's very highly interdisciplinary. This is the direction that many agencies are moving, and the university is moving in this direction too. And as you can see from the slides I have there.
I think that when you have, let's go back to the original slide. I don't know if we can go backtrack or not. We've got this climate modeling one, but before there were, in the original model, I think there are 5 elements of the EPSCoR grant. Can you just give us an idea?
Yeah, there's 6 actually. 6. So this reflects the interdisciplinary aspect of it. It has everything from climate modeling to how it impacts water and ecology, to how it impacts or how it is brought into data systems, the policy and outreach with people in the community that need climate change information, and then lastly, educational programs. And I have some visuals there that kind of represent some of the activities that our faculty are doing in climate modeling.
Yeah, I think we have a slide on the climate modeling. I'm not sure what that, now here's our climate model.
So this provides an example of how you take large-scale data, these global models, and you make it something that's useful for the region. That's really the big issue for people in climate modeling.
And when we talk about this climate modeling, we're doing that work here. We're doing research here on climate modeling. And then we share that with people just here in town or around the state or around the country or...
Well, it's faculty and students working on the research, you're right. And then, the information gets shared both from people, our peers, that look at it from the standpoint of, is this rigorous research, is it high quality research? But then it's shared with local decision makers who really need this information to decide, what's it going to mean in terms of the water situation in Nevada in the future. And you use this high resolution output to look at some of those scenarios out into the future. And when we talk about out into the future, they're looking out probably 100 years out into the future. Okay. Some other aspects of it, the other one is we have people out in the field doing work also. We have an environmental monitoring network.
So what is this? We had that slide up. What is that slide showing us? There's lots of oranges and things. I mean, what is that? What is that showing us?
The climate modeling slide shows you how you take very large-scale data that has a grid box that might be 100 kilometers in scale, and it takes it down to a scale that's about 5 kilometers. That's much more useful to people that are making decisions for a specific region.
For a specific region, area of the
Right.
of the state, even.
Right, and those boxes really just represented kind of how you go from one scale down to a much finer scale.
Finer scale.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I know that we're doing some other things in this in terms of outreach. You've mentioned outreach in the community, and I think we have another visual that talks about that too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if you could bring up the outreach where it's one of our students in the, we're working closely with Native American communities who frankly are one of the most vulnerable communities that could potentially be impacted under climate change scenarios, because they don't have the large kind of institutional infrastructure that's in place to buffer some of these potential changes that may be coming down in the future. So we're working closely with them, and we have students and faculty that are both trying to understand what are their needs, and then also how that feeds into the research that we're doing also. So it's really a two-way exchange, of information that we're trying to capture there.
It's, I think, an interesting, I remember going to one of the meetings or hearing a thing where just trying to understand the culture and the interaction between the Native American community and the reservations, and then how we can help them.
Right.
And that's been a real learning experience for the faculty.
Oh yeah, for the faculty and students. A big part of this is kind of establishing those relationships. And I think in the early phases, that's really what you're doing. You're trying to establish a relationship with these communities so you can better understand kind of their institutions and where their needs are also.
And from your reaction, do they seem to get the climate change issues in a way? Do they get it better than we do, or outside the reservation? Or I mean, I don't mean to be pejorative in that, but I mean, their focus has largely been on the impact on the reservation, right? Is that
right?
You know.
Well, and also ecosystems around the reservation. Right. I would say yes, they do get it. And if you talk to them, they would say that they've been dealing with climate change for a long time, and they have ways that they integrate a changing climate into their society. And they're very good at it also, I think, is
and
what
have probably done
you,
a better job of understanding than how the climate has impacted their lives.
Right.
And we may fully appreciate who are not on the reservation.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good characterization of it, because they, like I said, going back to one of my earlier points, is they don't have a larger system that's able to buffer kind of these changes in a climate. Whereas living in an urban area, we have that buffer around us that's able to buffer as we go through droughts and wet periods. You know, we notice it, but we don't notice it as much as someone in a rural area of Nevada.
Yeah, so not just the reservation, but any part of the rural part of Nevada is affected in a way that we don't see it in the same way here in the urban community.
Yeah, I mean, other rural areas of Nevada, certainly you have the ranching communities, some agricultural communities too, that certainly are part of this stakeholders that we identify them as.
And you're doing some work with them with Nevada Reno and the Extension Office, right? Isn't that right, that you've reached out to the rural areas of the state?
Yeah, Nevada Cooperative Extension is another one of our partners, and that's really what they do, is they work with those rural communities, especially the agricultural communities. And we've been doing surveys to find out kind of some of the baseline information on what are their attitudes, perceptions toward climate change, and then moving in toward what are the needs that will make them be able to cope with it as you move forward into the future.
Okay. Well, one of the needs, and you talk about needs and everything, one of the needs that we have, all of us have, is getting data that then creates information for us. And we have something about, do we have another slide? I think we have a slide, the data portal. Tell us a little bit about the data portal.
So a real important part of this now, and certainly organizations like the National Science Foundation and other funding agencies want to see that you have good systems put into place where you compile all this information, whether it's societal information or information you're getting from the field or models, how are you archiving that, making it accessible to people, and also maintaining that over time? And that really, what that really directs us toward is the development of a data portal, which allows us to pull together a lot of the data that's being compiled on the research project. It allows it to be shared among the different components of the project, but then it also allows people access to that data too.
So we're collecting all kinds of data here and at Reno and DRI. It's all going to be centralized into a portal that others could use, and other scholars here, but also around the country could access that information. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea, is to you have those various levels where you're trying to share it among your own faculty, but then you're making it accessible too, because we want to be on the map as a leader in this area. Okay. And to do that, you have to make your information available to people.
Okay. One of the ways that we make information available, and another major role for the university, is the educational outreach role, and I think EPSCoR has that too. That's one of those 6 areas, right? And I think we recently had an educational conference. Can we bring up the slide that talks about or shows something about that?
Yeah, this was a couple weeks ago. One of the issues we want to try to address is how are we bringing in these contemporary issues, climate change being one of those, how are we bringing that into our educational programs? It's not as easy as just offering a Climate Change 101 course, because climate change is certainly something that comes into a lot of the different educational programs we have on campus and within the system. So what we had this summer, a couple weeks ago, was a conference to pull together the people in the state that have an interest in climate change education and start sharing kind of where they think we should be going in terms of integrating this into our both undergrad and graduate programs.
So the conference was mainly focused on at the university college level, right, in sharing information and ideas about how to teach climate change issues to people, kids coming to school at the university and in our state colleges. Right. But we also had people from other places come, isn't that right? I mean, we had, we're associated with New Mexico, I think, and Idaho. Is there a kind of consortium that we're working, is that right?
Yeah, Idaho and New Mexico are 2 other states that we've been working closely with. Those are certainly states that have common issues to us. In Nevada, both geographically and climatically, but they're also EPSCoR states that have focused on climate change as part of their efforts. So the National Science Foundation asked us to partner with them and looking at some of these issues at a broader regional level. It's an opportunity for us to leverage what each one of us is doing within our states and doing something even bigger with it at a regional level. Yeah. So we've been trying to build some of those partnerships, and that'll be an ongoing thing throughout the life of this project for sure, and I'm sure it'll extend out.
Well, that's, I think, a really interesting and important point. I mean, often we think about UNLV and we think about it in terms of just Las Vegas, but in fact, the EPSCoR grant is a statewide grant, but in fact, we go beyond even our state with the EPSCoR grant, and the university is reaching out to become a regional, if not national, player on climate change. Right. And so it's really kind of neat.
Yeah. If we have to define success on the project, defining part of that is making sure that at the end of this we are tied in with those national networks. We're viewed as one of the leaders in this area. A lot of other people are working on climate change, but we should be part of those larger national efforts, and this starts us down that path of becoming part of those. Right.
It's really exciting to see all those things happening. We have people in the college who are heavily involved in the climate change and the EPSCoR grant, and so it's exciting to see the interaction with other people on campus and the kind of involvement we have. One of the things that's happening, in a sense, closely associated with the climate change is the initiative by the university to become one of the really green, if you will, in terms of energy ideas, and I know you've been involved in that, and I think we have a video, but if you want to introduce the video and let's talk about that.
Sure. So the thinking in this is that certainly we hear a lot about renewable energies it makes sense. It's not hard to make the case for solar being natural in Nevada here. You know, it was 110 on Sunday. You know, we should be harnessing a lot of this in terms of solar energy. And so we've really trying to move forward some big initiatives. We've had faculty that have always done research in those areas, but there's a lot more potential in terms of what we could be doing as a university, but also how this could impact the community in terms of economic development. So we've started, and this has been going on about for a year and a half, with really the president being the person that said this is the direction we need to move in terms of looking at solar energy and looking at the whole supply chain part of solar energy. And how do you identify and address the different issues associated with supply chain, whether that's the research and development or manufacturing or workforce development, the policies and legal issues, the economic issues, the educational issues. How do you look at that from that supply chain perspective and really make that central to what you're doing as an institution? And that's part of this large solar initiative that we've submitted a grant to the Department of Energy, and we're waiting to hear on that. But the video that we have, and I think now is probably a good time to show it, kind of introduces this idea and the need for it and the direction that we're going to.
Right. Okay. So let's see the video.
Dependence on foreign oil, rising unemployment, climate change, energy security. Big problems require big solutions. Our region has vast solar energy potential, and our nation needs it, and our community needs jobs. To meet these needs, UNLV is teaming up with Southern Nevada businesses, financial institutions, nonprofits, trades, and government agencies to speed up the deployment of solar technologies in our area. Working together, these groups are helping form the Solar Innovation and Technology Center to create jobs, coordinate financial and intellectual resources, and enhance our solar energy supply. Guiding the development of this initiative are key community leaders who view UNLV as a thought leader that will bring together the critical components of the new solar economy. This will involve integrating several important areas: research and development, commercialization of discoveries, market and economic analysis, public policy and security, workforce development and education, economic development, community outreach and communication. It will bring experts in engineering, science, policy, law, and business to our community. It will mean new jobs immediately, with potential for thousands more, as well as a new industry for Southern Nevada. It will also mean enhanced energy supply, reliability, and affordability.
Our Solar Innovation and Technology Center will help the Southern Nevada economy while addressing our nation's energy challenges. Help us help our community, and help us to create a more sustainable and prosperous future for the world.
Well, Tom, so we have this Solar Energy Center, hub, if you will. Where are we on this? We've submitted an application in on this, and I gather we have community support. We have strong support from, we saw in the picture, two of the major people in the community. Where are we? What's the status now?
Well, yeah, as I said, it's being reviewed by the Department of Energy right now, and they've been very interested in what we're doing. It's certainly a different, it's different from what they traditionally support in terms of very specific areas. And traditionally, the Department of Energy has supported a lot of basic research and development. This is much broader than that. While we're waiting, but we don't want to wait. You know, this is too important both for the university and the community to wait. So with the support of our community, we have some seed money to start moving this effort forward, and we've actually brought someone on board who's got a investment banking type of background. His name's Bob Lind, who's helping us move this forward in terms of developing a strategic plan, seeking out different partners, whether that's the solar industry or whether that's, you know, the banks and investment firms or other people that are an important part of this. And we're working closely with NV Energy on this too, because NV Energy is the big partner here. They've always been a great supporter of the university, but they certainly want to see something like this happen also. So we're seeking their input as we move it forward. One of the things that'll happen toward the end of the summer here is Senator Reid has always had a clean energy summit toward the end of the summer, and he'll be having that the day after Labor Day this year, where they bring in some really big names: Bill Clinton, Al Gore, T. Boone Pickens, and it's a big event, and it certainly puts UNLV and Southern Nevada on the map in terms of discussing renewable energy. The day after that, we're going to be having a little more focused event, but still a very high level with big names from the community, national community in solar, bringing them in to discuss more specifically some of those issues associated with deploying solar in our nation and in our community too.
Well, let me ask you, we've got just a few more minutes, but let me ask you, is this solar hub going to be on campus? Is it going to be somewhere else? Or is it essentially just a virtual where we play a major role, but we don't actually physically have a presence there? I mean, is there a physical presence that will say, oh, there's UNLV's Solar Center?
Right. I think it's got multiple places where it resides. Certainly, it'll probably, administratively, it'll probably reside over our new Science and Engineering building. But we pull from different units on campus, whether that's the Center for Energy Research that Bob Beam heads up, or the Center for Business and Economic Research, or different centers on campus that need to feed into what the hub is. And that's even broader too in terms of, industry that may be wanting to partner with us and maybe doing even demonstration facilities in different places outside, off campus even. So I think administratively it's going to sit on campus here, but it pulls from a lot of different units, including CSN and other community groups too.
Okay, good. Well, you also mentioned in your discussion, I know we have just a minute or two left, but I want to mention this because you talked about NV Energy, and NV Energy has been very supportive of us, and they've given us a grant of money to create a solar miner.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Sure.
We've got a couple more minutes,
Okay.
so let's talk about the solar miner.
Yeah, the solar miner has been a great thing for the campus. NV Energy gave the campus $500,000 to start up a miner for undergraduate students in all different departments. It's not just science and engineering. So working closely with your college and the School of Environmental and Public Affairs, who administratively houses it, we've been moving this miner forward on campus, where it has an engineering and science track, but also a policy track. And it's gotten great attention from the students. We have over 50 students enrolled in it just in 1 year here. And we continue to have a lot of interest from students. And we're putting that money to use in terms of scholarships, helping with internships where students can go work out in the community, also student projects on campus, improving some of our labs in terms of demonstration facilities, and then students working on research related to solar too. So it's really an exciting initiative, and it's gotten such good attention that people are asking us, are you going to have a graduate equivalent to it?
So we're actually talking about maybe having a graduate certificate,
right?
Not a minor. We don't have minors at the graduate level in that sense, but a certificate where people could come back and get a certificate in solar.
Right. That's the idea, and I've been working with the director of the School of Environmental and Public Affairs to kind of develop what that certificate would look like. And I think it'll get a lot of attention from people in the community.
And again, we've had real support from NV Energy on this, and they've been involved in this in a very direct way. They're not just giving money. They actually have come over and talked to and worked with us on what it is that would make for a good miner. Yeah,
both from the miner, they've given us really good input in terms of what they would like to see in that, but also in that the center, the solar center, in terms of what their needs are too. So we have a great relationship with NV Energy, and they're really a major partner for us.
Okay, well, great. It's always nice to have partners in the community, and we've had some big partners with the miner and with the new solar center, and we're working with partners in other parts of the university system or the Nevada system with the college and with UNR and with DRI. I want to thank you for coming and explaining a little bit about how you've become Mr. Green here on campus. That's what I'm going to call you.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
a new name.
Yeah, a new name here. You're heading up. I mean, it's a big change from when you first came here in civil engineering, but you've taken a really strong role and a lead role, and we appreciate that both at the university and in our college level, the role that you've played in pushing and helping to move the campus forward when it comes to climate change and solar energy. And again, thank you for coming to the Urban Report and giving us some insight, and hopefully we'll have you back and when we have the hub going and you can give us some more information about all that.
Great.
So
Well, thank you. I
thank you very
appreciate
much.
it. Yeah.
So thank you very much.
All
Take
right,
care.
thanks, Lee.
Thank you very much for watching the show. And if you have any questions or comments, you can write lee.burnick@unlv.edu. Thank you again.